Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how COVID affects no contact. So, this is actually a question I've had from many people inside the school. I've seen comments on the YouTube channel, so I thought I would just sort of address it based on the core principles that you are going to find about the relationship between COVID and no contact, and really the relationship between COVID and how it's going to impact your relationships to a certain degree overall. So, before I dive into all of this, we have our With You promotion to support basically our community during all the uncertainty that's happening right now. We will be running this until things sort of return to normal, we're hoping. So there's a link in the description box below. It gives you access to 25% off of membership bundles, and we have a money back guarantee. And basically, the membership bundles give you the all access membership pass that lets you go through the whole school, all of the 40 plus courses you have access to that are pre-recorded on boundaries, codependency and enmeshment, reprogramming all the different attachment styles, your attachment style in the 6 stages of a relationship. We have courses literally on like subconscious reprogramming, setting goals for your subconscious mind, your attachment style in the workplace, so many different things. And you have access to all of that as well as 4 live calls with me a week, all over video chat and video calls with our community and mastermind groups, morning and evening routines, belief reprogramming exercises, all that is included. So check it out, link in the description box below. And let's talk about the relationship between COVID and no contact. So, first and foremost, you can think of any time there's a crisis of any form, okay? And there's sort of this mass like disruption because of COVID right now. And a lot of people are going through a lot of challenges with health, losing family members, all kinds of things. So we can think of like the entire COVID experience as being on like a scale. Some people, their lives are just affected because restaurants are closed. Some people, their lives are affected because their job has now changed or they've been let go. Some people have seen losses of family members and friends, and so people are affected in different ways by all of this. But like either way, there is a mass disruption on a very collective scale right now. And whenever this happens in any form, whenever there's massive change, basically any disruption or change, and of course, then as we go down that continuum, like if there's major trauma or things like that, these things become magnifiers, and they become magnifiers of our unmet needs. Okay, so whatever needs we're already missing, we feel these things more, and they maximize our coping mechanisms, right? Because whenever we're going through stress or trauma, our subconscious mind goes back and relies on things, leans on things that essentially have been really beneficial at helping them move through stress at the time. But as with all coping mechanisms, usually coping mechanisms can become outdated. So, just a really clear example of this is you could be, let's say, a child and you throw a temper tantrum. And when you throw a temper tantrum, maybe your needs get met. Maybe your parents tend to you, maybe they give you candy, they pet you on the head, they tell you, oh, it's okay, they emotionally support you. Well, what's going to happen? Well, basically you're going to be conditioned that when I throw a temper tantrum, good things happen. And this is eventually going to be a program in your subconscious mind, especially if it's repetitive, because repetition plus emotion, and if you get positive emotions from doing that because your needs get met, these create programs. Now, when you fast forward and now you're 50 years old and you have a temper tantrum as an adult in a boardroom meeting or in the workplace in some form, you might have a program that says it's going to get your needs met, but chances are it's not going to get your needs met. It's going to do the opposite. People are going to be like, whoa, what's going on? This isn't appropriate. Like, why are you throwing things and screaming? And, like, what is going on? Right. So we're going to see that even though something became a conditioned strategy that was useful in the past, doesn't mean it's going to be a useful strategy in the present or in the future. And so when we look at this idea, we want to look at the idea that COVID is going to magnify our already unmet needs. And then it's going to, as a result of that, then also magnify our coping mechanisms that we've been conditioned to use based on our unmet needs from the past. So, what we have to look at is we have to recognize, okay, assuming that this is going to be true, assuming that my unmet needs are going to happen. What are my coping mechanisms that I'm using? And are they good things? Are they like, you didn't get your needs met as a child and you learned to say, excuse me, like I could use X, Y, and Z right now, and you learn to communicate your needs and assert yourself and do so in a healthy way? Or do you have outdated strategies, things that might have worked for you at the time, but definitely do not work now, or at least might work to get your needs met, but then bring tremendous downsides along with them? And when we look at each attachment style, we can apply this idea or concept. Like, what are you going to see from most dismissive avoidance in this situation? Well, you're going to see that their unmet needs are magnified. And then their way of coping is probably to withdraw even more than they already would because they're going through these challenges. They might have spurts of trying different things, as the mind will when it's kind of like trying to float and figure things out. But the general overarching theme is you're going to see that people just return to their previous coping mechanisms even more, even though they may not be working in our adult lives. Anxious individuals, anxious, preoccupied, we're going to see them feel even more unmet in terms of love and connection. And then some of that like neediness, fear, worry, anxiety, that's probably going to be magnified as well, because those are the strategies they use to reach out to people, or sort of like strategies that affect the way they reach out to people is a better way of saying it. And that's going to impact all their relationships in one form or another. So when we look at no contact, when no contact happens, the people, and so the different attachment styles that are involved, like when a dismissive avoidant goes through no contact, they're going to be more withdrawn than usual. So they're going to need a little bit extra time before they really process, like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling like I miss my ex, or I'm feeling alone in this situation. Even if they hurt more from it, even if they're missing that more, they're likely to withdraw harder and take longer to come back out of that, because remember, the coping mechanisms are being so magnified. When we look at um, a fearful avoidant, well, they're probably going to go through the same dynamic, right? They're going to have this shifting of feeling really withdrawn, and then that's going to be like sort of hyper equilibrated by the super feelings of neediness and missing somebody and longing that can come up. But if a fearful avoidant feels rejected at that point, when they're feeling vulnerable, they tend to shut down even harder again. So you'll see that cycle sort of rotate for fearful avoidance during any phase of no contact post relationship. Anxious, preoccupied, that neediness that sometimes they would turn a corner after a couple weeks because they get so much out and they get so much of that sadness out and that grieving out. Sometimes they turn that first little step of the corner in the first couple weeks because they feel everything right away and it's magnified right away. That period is going to extend a little bit longer during no contact. It's going to affect them more. So when you see the different no contact videos on this channel and we talk about those specific points, the periods of time that an attachment style, each of the different attachment styles basically like feels no contact the most, and when they're most open to like reinitiating connection or reconnecting post relationship, think of those time periods as now being magnified for the underlying reasons from which they occur in the first place. Okay, so if the 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes even longer for DAs, depending on how DA they are, they don't really feel their emotions and allow themselves to miss somebody post relationship, that's probably going to extend, because that withdrawal post relationship, that's their coping mechanism, is going to be like 10x sort of thing. Not actually 10x, I'm just saying it's going to be like magnified, right? So that is something really important to recognize, and these are the big things. So whatever, and if you're somebody going through this and you're like, you know what, I'm being affected by no contact, take a look, like what are the unmet needs that are there, because that's why you have coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms are behavioral responses designed to be a strategy to meet some kind of unmet need. They have like a hidden positive in them, a hidden positive intention, essentially. And so when you can realize that, and then you can go, okay, so then what's the unmet need? And then you can come up with healthy, creative ways of getting your needs met. You're also going to be able to like buffer out some of the challenges and pain for no contact. So let's pretend you're anxious, preoccupied. No contact's really hurting. Somebody's gone no contact with you and you're on the receiving end. Well, then what do you want to do? You probably want to show up and go, okay, I'm really having the grief over like a loss of love and connection as the unmet need, or a loss of certainty and closeness. Okay, so I have to come up with strategies to get this need met in better ways. Have more vulnerable conversations, set up more conversations on Zoom with friends and family members. speak more deeply about things, reconnect with people from the past in a healthy way, show up and do more meditation, more journaling, more self work, so that I'm connecting in the relationship to myself. Like, you want to have this huge list of things you can rely on and turn to, so that you are mitigating the challenges that you would otherwise be experiencing in the first place. So hopefully this all makes lots of sense from both ends, both being on the part of like initiating no contact or on the receiving end. Let me know any other questions you have about this stuff, and happy to make a video about it. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.